Now we're live, boys. Now we're live.
Did you even do the music?
I even did the music.
Okay, all right.
I got it all going on tonight, boys.
You do.
We got a new technical director.
I have retired.
Now, do you know how to turn the music off?
It's done just like that, boys. And
Yeah.
we're live. We're live.
Yeah.
How about that?
All right. Yeah, there we go. Well, take it away, Steve. You're the host.
Take it away.
Welcome to the Porch, people. We are here. You're looking live. I'm in Greenfield. This guy to the side of me here is down in Florida. And this guy below me is in the real place that everybody wants to be, Mr. Fox Chapel, Mark Schwab. Welcome, boys.
Money.
Welcome, boys.
The mayor of Fox Chapel, Mark Schwab.
That's who I am.
It's Steve. You look a little dark there, Steve. You might want to turn on the lights.
I know. Look at that. Like, just suddenly everything went dark.
Well, it's Greenfield. It is.
Well, what can I say? We don't really have sunshine in Pittsburgh, so I guess it's more appropriate that way.
There's
I'm
no
gonna turn on
sunshine
the
down
light.
here either.
So who
All
would
right.
we like to thank? All of our iHeartRadio listeners?
Yeah, let's thank everybody for listening on American Busker iHeartRadio. 150 million registered users, 2,000 devices, 250 platforms. I guess I'm just going to have to take the host spot back from Steve now for a minute while he gets the lights on him and say, welcome to the Sports Porch. I am down in, well, I'm at an undisclosed location somewhere in the vicinity of Palm Beach, Florida. And Steve is running the show tonight. Running the show.
And I'm running it right into the ground, baby. But that's okay, because it's only one time, and that's all that matters. We got all the usual folks here. We got Yo Carey, and he's got something to say about Mr. Trubisky.
Can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Yeah,
I sent my wife a text. She was taking a little snooze up in the room, and I said, "Honey, we're starting the show down here. Steve's running it. And I'm going to be on the don't call me." And she calls me. So
she just wants to be on the show. Everybody wants to be on the show. You can't blame her.
It's either that or she.
Steelers lose a close one. Disappointing, I think, all around. Defense, offense, special teams.
We definitely have to talk about the offense for sure, Mark.
Yeah, so
no doubt about that.
Let's start talking about the offense right now. Big question.
Well, I think Amy actually says it perfectly. Canada stinks. He must go. What do you think about that?
I've been saying that all along.
But I mean, let's face it. They're not going to make a change in the offensive coordinator position after 2 games.
No, they're
right?
not.
No, of course not.
So let's just talk about how the offense went yesterday. Mark, what was your synopsis of the offense yesterday, other than they looked terrible?
Well, they lacked imagination. That's for sure. I mean, basically every play was generally a run up the middle to the left side or right side, or a pass that didn't go beyond 10 yards. I mean, I don't think there was a pass beyond 25 yards in the entire game.
There was not. You are correct. The longest pass was 23 yards to George Pickens, and that was right before halftime.
So what are we doing here? We've got these weapons on the outside. Now, I understand, you're a little squeamish about the line, but at the same time, I mean, you can't just not go out there and play aggressive and try to make plays with your playmakers.
I agree. I saw on Instagram some of the sports writers in Pittsburgh. They wanted to lay the, who should the blame be placed on, the offensive line, the quarterback, or the coordinator. And 2 out of 3 of them said over 50% of the blame should be on the play calling and the coordinator. And I don't think the guy knows how to game plan. I mean, I've been saying that for the last 2 years. And I think it's very obvious. I mean, look, you can, like Steve said last week, you can game plan to be conservative, but you can't win in the NFL being conservative. You can't. And he's got the tools. He's look, Trubisky's he's a seasoned quarterback. I don't think you can lay the blame on him. The offensive line is bad, of course, but how are they ever going to get better? If you don't play football, it just doesn't seem like they're playing football.
Well, I mean, it doesn't look like Trubisky's running for his life back there. So, how much blame can you put on the offensive lineman? I think at some point, and I said this at the beginning of the season, this is Canada's offense now. Last year it was like, well, he can't run his offense because he doesn't have a mobile quarterback. Well, he has a mobile quarterback now, so it's definitely his offense. The question is, how conservative how longer can this team be conservative without TJ Watt in the lineup? It's clear that the defense is not elite with him out of the lineup. So they're going to have to open it up at some point in time for them to be able to win games. They're just not going to be able to win games by saying, let's not make any mistakes. And to me, I'm agreeing with there is no creativity. It's the same offense that we've seen the last 2-3 years. I agree with that. And at some point, they're going to have to insert some splash plays. They're going to have to throw it down the field. They're going to have to allow wide receivers and running backs to make plays on their own, because that's exactly what the Patriots did. They basically just outplayed the Steelers at their own game, which is they only had to make 2 plays, and they made those plays, and they won the game by 3 points. And that's all it takes to beat the Steelers. If you score 3 touchdowns against this team, you're going to win the ball game. And that's, to me, not a recipe for winning in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, it was, but really, like if you really think about it, I mean, I also kind of wonder, is Canada just one of those guys where he's a college guy? I mean, if you look at the kind of offense he's playing right now, I mean, when you're at a good college program, and let's say your running back is just flat out better than the linebackers on the other team, you can run the ball up the middle or off tackle and you're going to win most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I just think that he's, or for example, if you've got a wide receiver, like for example, like a Larry Fitzgerald at Pitt, you can throw him a 10-yard pass and he's going to go all the way.
Right.
But it doesn't happen as much in the NFL. You got to have scheme, and you've got to have, enough time to go through 3 reads. You know what I mean? You've got to just game plan much better. I mean, I felt like there was no adjustment either. Right.
But I agree with that. And their adjustment is just don't make a mistake. Then we don't have to make adjustments, right? We can continue going down the same path that we always go down. And I get it. I mean, I watched the replay and I was focusing on some of the third down passes where Trubisky maybe didn't make a throw or looked like he was, hesitant to throw it somewhere. And I think guys were open. I agree that, maybe Trubisky's not doing that. But when 3 of your 4 targets are within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, it doesn't really allow you to be able to drive down the field relatively quickly. And I think that's where the creativity comes into play. And they have to do something about that, because the teams that they're playing against, get it. Like, they know all they have to do is make a couple splash plays and they're going to end up winning the game. That being said, the Steelers did have a chance to win this game in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was 17-14 in the fourth quarter, right?
Yep.
And you know how many plays the Steelers ran in the fourth quarter, Mark? Do you know how many plays?
I don't, but I'm going to guess it's less than 8.
It was less than 8. It was exactly 6 plays. They had 2 drives. They went 3 and out, and they only gained a total of 12 yards in the fourth quarter. I mean, if that doesn't tell your offense you have to wake up, I don't know what does. And granted, I agree with let's see, who made the comment? No, I don't ever agree with you. I don't agree with you. But
I'm trying to find a place where there's no music, which I think I found.
I agree with Ed. Ed says, I don't think the defense played that well yesterday, and I agree with him. I mean, without TJ, they didn't get any sacks.
Yep.
and they didn't. Well, they did get the turnover. I mean, Minka had another interception. I think Minka's playing great, by the way. I don't think you can say that Minka's doing anything but being a Pro Bowler right now. But they had a chance to stop that team, and they couldn't in the last 6 minutes of the game, and that's just unacceptable for a defense that wants to be a top 10 defense. They have to give, their wow, that's quite the bird you got down there in Florida.
Yeah. Well,
Poor
I
boy.
have to feed the birds. I'm sorry, guys. It's just
Okay, make sure you feed the
Yeah.
birds, because I think they're squawking about the Steelers' offense too, and
well,
they sound
I
pretty
think
angry.
yeah,
They
I think
sound
they're
pretty
agreeing.
angry.
I think they're agreeing with you. And you know what, Steve? I mean, I think the defense. I think there needs to be a little bit of patience about the defense, because one of the things that's very true is, yes, T.J. Watt is huge. You know, he was the defensive player of the year last year. He's a force, no doubt. But you do have 10 other guys on the field that are capable of playing, and I do think that Minka is a fantastic safety. He's an exceptional player. So I think the defense is going to end up being okay, because that's an adjustment. I just keep going back to the fact that I don't think Canada can call a game in the NFL. I think he's horrible. Did you guys see the video that Snoop put out?
Yeah,
Snoop Dogg?
I sent it to you guys.
Oh, that was you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Mark
I'm on
sent it
vacation.
to us.
Right. I mean, when guys like that are calling him out, I mean, it's not just obvious to us; it's obvious to everybody.
But
And
the other part of it too is, like, there's it's still. I mean, I know we don't want to harp on it, but when we talk about lack of imagination, it's like, think about it like this. I mean, okay, so you've got a mobile quarterback, right? So, you know, do a designed run for him, roll him out to the right, to have him throw kind of on the run. There's all kinds of different things that you can do, and they're just playing like they're almost playing like preseason vanilla football. They're just running base offense.
Yeah, and that's all they're gonna run. My Canadian epiphany last week basically tells you all you need to know about this offense. It's not going to throw the ball down the field. It's not going to try and make any mistakes, and it's just going to play it safe 100% of the time. I mean, they don't have any down the field plays where they just chuck it deep and try and let Claypool go up and grab it and come down with it. The play just doesn't exist. I heard something today on sports talk radio where somebody who says they're in the know, and who knows if they're in the know, they don't allow their quarterbacks to audible at the line. Like, what kind of offense has a quarterback, an NFL ready starting quarterback, take the team up to the line and be like, this play is not going to work. We need to try this play, and do an audible at the line. If the Steelers are truly not doing that, then I agree with 90% of the comments that are basically saying Canada's a fraud. He's never going to be a coach in the NFL. That's true. He's certainly not being a very good offensive coordinator. So I'll agree with that. And I think the fact that they went to get Trubisky and really didn't have a competition to see who was going to be out there. They basically knighted him, and they said, well, he's going to be the guy who's going to just manage the game. It's not going to work for the Steelers with this defense being okay. It looked like it might be good if the Steelers were elite, like it was in Game 1. But let's face it, that Cincinnati team is not good. They just lost again to Dallas. So maybe
with a backup quarterback.
Right, exactly, with a backup quarterback. So maybe we only beat the Bengals because the Bengals aren't good, not because our defense was that great. So I think Steelers have it rough, especially going into this week. I mean, think about it. They're 1-1. Pretty much everybody's 1-1 except for Cincinnati's 0-2. They have this week against the Browns is almost a must-win for them, because if they go 1-2 and the Browns go 2-1 and they have the tiebreaker against them, they're already up against it. But if they can beat the Browns, they not only are 2-0 in the division, but they've beaten two teams, divisional on the road, that actually could work out okay for them. So despite, I know, this week everything looks lost, but if somehow they can manage to put a game plan together to stop the run in Cleveland, I think they have a chance this week.
Well, here's the thing. I think one thing to think about, especially with the miserable loss by Cleveland and the miserable loss by the Ravens, and of course the Bengals are just looks like a Super Bowl hangover year for them. The bottom line is this division's wide open. You can have
Yeah.
9 or 10 wins winning this division, and really think about it this way. And usually what that means is nobody's out of it, until maybe there's a week or two left. Even if they lose this week, let's say they go 1-2, they come home for the Jets. You win that game, you're 2-2, you're probably right in the mix. It's going to be like that, I think, all year long.
Well, I look at beating the Browns on the road, and I think they are going to beat the Jets, and then they're actually in a much better space.
If
They're
they
at
do that,
3-1.
they're 3-1.
Right? And they beat
Yeah.
the Jets, who already just beat the Browns, right? So they're really making the Browns look like bottom dwellers with the Bungles at that point.
I just don't see any hope at this point. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being serious. I picked them to go 0-4, 0-5. Obviously, that's not going to happen now because they beat Cincinnati. But, I think, Steve, you might be right. And 2 games is still a small sample size. But one of the things that I think is that I've noticed is, you always feel like in the preseason, they always play conservative. They don't always play the starters. You know how teams act that way. They don't really unwrap that offense. I feel like I'm not watching anything different than is what's happened in the preseason. And that being said, look, if you're going to continue to call this ridiculous offense the way you're calling it and not play to the strengths of your players and not take some more chances and push that offensive line, you are not going to win very much at all. And I've always said, the Steelers are horrible in trap games. Well, they basically got 2 trap games in a row right now. And I don't see it.
I'll tell you
I
what,
picked
guys.
them to lose this week in the beginning of the season. I still think they're going to lose in Cleveland on Thursday night. That's just I'm just not too high on that idea of them even pulling out of this with more than one victory.
I will tell you what, guys. If they get beat down against the Browns, I think you're going to see Kenny Pickett in Game 4 because you've got a home game against hopefully a lousy Jets team.
The Jets aren't lousy, by the way.
What's that?
The Jets are not lousy, by the way.
Well, they're not terrible.
Yeah.
But still, it's one of the lesser teams in the league. You got 10 days to prepare to get your rookie quarterback ready for a home game where he's going to have a lot of support. So, I think Trubisky still holds the job, but if they get blown out by the Browns next week, I think Pickett's going to become the starter.
Well, and anything's possible on the road when you're playing Cleveland, but I don't know. With Brownie the Elf at the center of the field, they're 0-1. So
that turns
I'm
out
thinking
to be bad luck.
I'm thinking maybe they need to erase the Brownie the Elf at the middle of the field and put that big Browns helmet back on. Then maybe they've got a chance. So let's talk about the game. Against the Browns. Chris, you already said you're going on record. You think they're going to lose. What do you think the score is going to be?
Oh gosh, you know what? It's impossible for me to tell because both of these teams are in my estimation bad. But I did pick the Browns to beat the Steelers in our preseason predictions. Yeah. I would say this has the potential to be another low-scoring game, and so I'll say 17-10 Browns.
I'll say 27-13 Browns.
Oh, you think they're going to light it up?
Well, I wouldn't say that's lighting it up. To be honest, I think if Jacoby Brissett wasn't their quarterback, they might light it up. Yeah, but I think he kind of prevents you from anything bigger than a good running attack.
I think I said last week that the only way the Steelers will win if they win the turnover battle against the Patriots, and they didn't, and they lost. I think much the same about the Browns. I think the Browns will manhandle them on the ground, I don't know if they'll get impatient to the point where they feel like they have to throw the ball. If they do, that will work in favor of the Steelers. If they decide just to
Right.
run Chubb and then the run Hunt and then the run Chubb and then the run Hunt up and down the field, and Devin Bush forgets how to tackle again, it's going to be a long night for the Steelers. I mean, a long night. I mean, you could see a 35-10 game, and that would be bad, and that could chuck in Mark's theory about Pickett playing next week. However, if the Browns fumble the ball, or Brissett gets too fancy with play action and thinks he can hit Ninjoko across the middle, and Minka runs one back for a touchdown, then I think the Steelers have a chance. But let's face it, this offense can't score more than 2 touchdowns. So, in order for them to win, Chris, I think the 17-10 would be a Steelers win, in my opinion. But I'm going to go with the mid ground, which is I think it's going to be 28-17, and I think the Browns will be the winners in this game.
The homer picks the Browns.
I picked the Browns in the preseason. Actually, I had them 1-1 at this point in my preseason picks. So I'm going to stick with that. But I really think if they can somehow manage that run game is really good for the Browns. I mean,
yeah.
And yes, April, they absolutely do have the ugliest helmets in the world. That is true. That's a proven fact.
We agree.
But I think those ugly helmets will somehow outplay our Pittsburgh Steelers this week. Especially, who knows? That loss against, let's talk about their loss against the Jets. The way they lost against the Jets could affect them coming into the short week. I mean, they had that game won, and the Jets just came storming back. There were, 4 scores in the last 2 minutes of the game, and the Jets get an onside kick? I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, do you know what's really even more ridiculous? And I think about this all the time because I once saw somebody do this the right way. And while I am a Nick Chubb fan, because he's on my fantasy team.
And he scored you 42 points this week.
Yeah, but
go Chubb.
Nick Chubb had the game won, and he gave it away. You know, all he had to do was slide before the end zone, and the Jets have no timeouts, and then they just kneel. But he had to get his touchdown. You know, he got his touchdown, and then they kicked it off, and then they scored, and they got an onside kick, and then they scored.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is definitely a possibility. If the Browns come out flat because of that loss, I mean, it's very possible that the Steelers can take advantage of that.
Although I actually think it's going to probably be the opposite. You know, I think they're going to be mad and angry about that loss, and really want to kind of show off against the Steelers.
Well, that's why you picked them to win.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I just think that both the Steelers and the Browns have. The Browns definitely have the leg up on the running game. I think both the Steelers and the Browns are franchises that are kind of in flux right now for different reasons, and I think this game could be a brutal game to watch, just like the opening game 2 weeks ago. It just I get no sense of excitement of thinking about the Steelers playing football. Even with, at least last year with Ben in his last season, you just knew that and I don't want to compare anybody to Ben because we know he's gone, but, at least last year it was kind of like, okay, when's he going to throw the deep ball? When's he going to lead him down the field? Even with the end of the call and a poor offense. And going back to what you were talking about earlier, Steve, about not being able to change the play in the huddle or anything like that. I mean, give me a break. Okay, this is an NFL franchise. Okay, you got to let the quarterback call the game at times. You got to. I mean, Canada's got to go. Yo Carey's comment was right. He should go coach the Pirates. He'd have more success there. I mean, it's just ridiculous to me. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't even blink twice if they fired him right now. Like, okay, you're not going to fire him 2 games into the season. What has he got to pull out of his sock that we haven't seen before? A jet sweep to a guard.
Coach Kenny Pickett in college. I think he did, didn't he?
Yes, I think for 1 year, right?
Yeah, so that's what they're going to hang their hopes on. If he can't make it work with Kenny Pickett, then he's gone.
I think that's horrible. I think they need to, and I'm not saying they should start Pickett now because I don't think Trubisky has been given a chance to lose the job. I think
Yeah,
Trubisky's.
that's exactly it. Like, did you hear Claypool's response this week?
I did not.
Basically, he was talking about not getting any deep balls, and he's like, "Hey, we don't call the plays. We can only do what we're asked to do." Like, that just shows you right there. Like, the players don't even believe in him.
Well, I can tell you our fans actually believe in the Steelers this week. We got Brad taking the Steelers 23-13. We got Ed taking the Steelers 24-14. They think the defense is going to show up. It's looking like. And they very well could. I mean, if the defense can stop the run, I don't think honestly, I don't like Brissett. I don't think he's that great of a quarterback. I don't
He's
think
not.
he can
No.
he
Yeah.
does have Amari Cooper, who I think is a very good talent, but with just one receiver like that, I'm just not convinced that they can get it. They can get it to him. So,
Hey,
um,
and I hope they win. I want them to win. There's no doubt about that. And anything can happen in the NFL. Who knows? Maybe they have a bounce back game and all of a sudden something connects and and they score some points and they beat Cleveland. That can happen. But if
yeah,
we get the same old play calling, it seems to me like the interviews and what I read, even the players are starting to question, the process behind calling the plays. So
Mike, I think to answer your question, could Tomlin fire Canada? Yes, of course he can. He's in charge of the team, um, for sure. I think Tomlin at this point in his career, being a tenured coach like he is, could easily get it done. The question is that means he would have to make the play calls,
mm,
and I don't think he really wants to do that. I think he needs somebody else to make the play calling because it's not like they can hire somebody to bring in a new offense mid-season. And that's the problem with
Who do they
firing
have? Who do
Canada.
they have sort of on the bench? Like, they got a
They
quarterbacks
don't.
coach or an offensive run game
No.
passing coordinator?
they don't have
No,
anybody that could step up and step in, I think.
No.
Yeah.
they do not.
No,
They
they
do
hung
not.
their hat on Canada.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So before we go on the week 3 picks, let's talk a little bit about the Baltimore Miami game. Another barn burner. And I
Yeah.
just love talking about these games because our divisional rivals seem to go down in flames. And
Yeah.
it's just great to watch, right?
There is hope. There is
So
hope.
Baltimore basically was beating the Jets or beating Miami the whole game, and then Tua just decided like, hey, all I really have to do is throw it deep to this guy called Tyreek Hill. Remember him? He used to play with Mahomes,
Yeah.
and
I
and it
think I
works.
remember him.
It works.
And
What do you think
Waddle.
about that? Yeah,
And
Jalen
Waddle's
Waddle.
pretty amazing too.
Yeah,
Waddle's
I
amazing too.
Chris,
Waddle. Yeah.
since you're in Florida, why don't you give us the Miami perspective here?
Well, I'm not sure anybody around here even realizes that they play football down here. But no, I think that I think it'll be interesting to see is this Tua's breakout game. We talked about this before the show. I made the comment weeks ago. Was it Mahomes that made Hill or Hill that made Mahomes? And Schwaber, you said it was both. And I kind of left it as an open question. I think after watching 2 games with Mahomes and his receiving core, and now seeing Hill get open for Tua, we'll see it. It might be kind of leaning towards the whole Tyreek Hill thing. Because, was that a breakout game for Tua, or does he just have these incredible receivers, one of which was Patrick Mahomes, played with him? I was shocked that they won that game because they were down big early, and I thought, that game's over. And I was watching the highlights as they were coming over on my phone because I was traveling. But
I think they scored 28. Did they score 28 points in the fourth? I think
Yes,
they did.
They
Yeah.
did. Yeah, they did.
Oh, and by the way, that Browns game, you might find these statistics interesting. The last time a team was down, what was it, 13 points with a minute 55 left, something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, the last time a team came back to win down in that situation was over 2,000 games ago.
Wow,
And to make the Browns feel even worse, the one that was over 2,000 games ago, the team also beat the Browns.
Nice. All right, maybe I should change my prediction. Maybe the Steelers are going to win on Thursday.
Well, just to come full circle on this, I actually do think Tyreek Hill is a difference maker. I think his speed and his ability to catch the ball on the run like that. I mean, if you can get it deep, and Tua can clearly throw it deep, I think that makes a big difference, especially for a young quarterback who's trying to make his mark in the NFL. I think that was a great pickup for them, and I really didn't think that. I wasn't thinking that at the beginning of the season, but I do think that Tyreek Hill is a bigger difference maker on that team.
Yeah.
And I think the Kansas City, they definitely are still going to do well without him, but they look a little lost without having that deep threat. Just go back one more going back to this Canada debate, and then we'll move on from here with our picks for week 3. This is a really interesting take from Yo Carey. Call it Big Ben.
Yeah.
And Ed believes the same thing, and so does Brad. They're all in on it. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I love the concept. I
don't think
they
couldn't do any worse, to be honest with you. Ben at least called the plays in the huddle, so he knows how to run an offense. I don't think that's really a bad idea. I think that's a good idea.
It's actually not a terrible idea, and especially let's say the wheels really fall off of this bus, and the Steelers are 2-10. Why not? Why not?
Right. Bring him in then. Yeah, that'll be too late. I think he'd want to come in with a chance to actually win. And it would probably dispel the rumors that the Cowboys are thinking about signing him. Did you see those?
Well, they're definitely not now, anyway.
Yeah. No, not now.
No,
not now.
No.
All right.
Okay.
What's next?
Let's move on to week 3 picks. And speaking of week 3, the first game we're going to be picking is the Bills at Miami game. And I'm going to start. I'm going to start.
An amazing game, doesn't it?
I'm going to start with Mark. Yeah, Mark. I want you to start us off. Potentially both 2-0 teams. I'm assuming that the Bills are going to beat the Titans tonight. Mm-hmm. Maybe they already are. I know the game's on live. But who you got?
This is a tough one. This one is going to be one of those absolute shootouts. I'm going to say it's going to be.
The over and under is 51.5, by the way.
Wow.
Well, hey, that's not going to be any kind of problem for my prediction. I'm going to go with Miami shocks the world and wins this one 48-45.
Oh my God.
I am watching that game. I'm getting my popcorn and I'm all in on that one. How do you feel about that, Chris? Miami for Mark.
Is it the Bills in Miami?
Yep.
In Miami. Yep.
Okay. That's tough because I definitely think that Miami showed their ability, and Tua had that game and coming back and throwing to Hill, gives a quarterback like him confidence. That's what they need. Now they're going to be tested. You've got Josh Allen coming in, so I'll try to keep it short. I think the Bills are going to win that game. I don't think it's going to be a shootout. I think they're going to score some points. I'm going to say 28-24 Bills.
I like the Bills also. I think the Bills will have a better chance at getting the Tua in the pocket. I think that will cause problems for Tua. I think he'll throw a couple interceptions. I like the Bills 35-24.
Wait a minute, Mark. What was Mark's 95 points total?
Yeah, 48-45.
Yeah, bet the over.
It's going to be reminiscent. Do you remember a while back there was that what was it? It was like the Chiefs versus the Rams or something.
Yeah.
It was.
Yes.
It was like that. That's what I'm predicting.
Yeah, I don't think there were any punts that game. Yeah. Excellent. Right. Okay, let's go to game number 2. This is an NFC matchup. We got Green Bay at Tampa Bay. By the way, before we go on this prediction, I just have to do a little rant on Tom Brady because you know how much I love Tom Brady.
Oh yeah.
That asshole,
Oh,
he had to start a fight in a game that they were already winning, and he got his wide receiver kicked out because of it. Like, that guy's got anger issues. If that happened to anybody else, he would have been gone out of the game. But no, Tom Brady, you can't touch him, and you got to protect him. So he gets kicked out of the game. Tom needs to take a chill pill,
And by
and
the
that's what I'm
way,
going to say about Tom Brady.
I
well,
think this could be a factor that Mike Evans, his best receiver, because the other guys are hurt, is suspended, I think, for the next game.
oh,
I
well,
didn't hear
looks like
that.
we're going Green Bay.
Yeah, Mike
I didn't
Evans
hear
is.
that, but good. I'm happy about that. That makes me happy.
Well, and
Okay,
Steve, I
Chris,
think
let's start with you.
as you predicted, Steve, Tom seems to be having some issues on the home front, and nobody wants to talk about those. And maybe that anger's just getting built up inside of him. We've all had our issues, and I think you just need to be a little kinder to Tom. He's got a tough life.
I will.
He's got a
I will
tough life.
not. I will not be kinder to Tom. That will not
he could
happen.
he could actually
Yeah.
be wandering around the property here, so I should probably be careful, or at least some friends
So,
of his.
so Chris, when you make your picks, it is true. He is suspended for one game because of that. So,
Okay.
so pick accordingly.
I'm going Green Bay with this game. I was going to go Green Bay with this game anyway. I feel like Aaron Rodgers. He's just right now he's just a better quarterback. I think Green Bay is going to win this game. Score. Oh, geez, is it in Tampa Bay? I don't have this stuff in front of me tonight.
It is in Tampa Bay. Yeah.
This is going to be another tight one. I don't think Tampa Bay's offense now that he doesn't really have any of his receivers. I'm going to say they're going to another frustrating night for Brady. They'll get 2 touchdowns out of it, and Green Bay's going to get 3, maybe with a field goal. 24-14, Green Bay.
Who you got, Mark?
It's a tough one. I mean, in the midst of this conversation, I've gone back and forth.
Yeah.
I guess I got to go Green Bay here. What it really comes down to, honestly, I think this is going to be an ugly game.
Yeah.
Because Tampa has no receivers, and Green Bay has no receivers.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true.
It's probably going to be like Leonard Fournette versus Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon.
Yep.
So I'm going to say that Green Bay kind of ekes it out. They win 17-14.
Mark, I think your philosophy is right on, but I think your analysis is off. I think Tampa Bay is going to win the game because I think that it is going to be the Fournette show. I think he'll run all over that Green Bay defense. They don't have anybody who can tackle him. And I think that the Tampa Bay linebackers and that defense can stop. I think they can stop the run. The question is, will Aaron Rodgers have Lazard available to him? I think if he does, I think they got a chance. I think it is going to be a close one. I think 24-21. I'm taking Tampa Bay, last-second field goal to win it all. Okay, last game we're going to be predicting for Week 3. San Francisco. It's the Sunday night game. San Francisco, Denver. I believe this one's in Denver.
Yeah, this one is interesting because you got to feel like at some point is Russell Wilson going to break out. He hasn't yet, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah, he hasn't.
And, how about San Fran? Possibly the best move of the offseason, re-signing Jimmy Garoppolo to a 1-year deal.
I don't know why he's not the starting quarterback, period. I mean, I think that's – well, he is now, but yeah. I never got that, But anyway, go ahead, Schwaber.
Well, you invest in like the 3rd pick in the draft. He's going to be your starting quarterback. And I think that kid's got a ton of talent. Now you start throwing in a season-ending injury. It could be tough on him. But to be honest, I think that I'll take San Francisco. I just think that, they've got a team that went deep into the playoffs last year, and I think the team is actually energized by Garoppolo being on the field with them. And I think that, I'm going to put a little bit of Denver's issues on their new coach, who seems to
Yeah.
be a little bit overwhelmed. Not saying that he can't be a very good coach, but he looks like he's not ready yet, so to speak. And maybe the Broncos know that, and they were fine with dealing with some growing pains. But I don't know. He hasn't really impressed me much at all. I just don't know how you could have Russell Wilson look as bad as he's looked for 2 weeks. That's just my opinion.
So, Mark's down with San Francisco. Are you
Yep.
giving a score?
Sure. I will say 24-14.
24-14.
All right.
Chris,
All
what
right.
do you think? San Fran?
I want to know how hard
Denver?
Jimmy Garoppolo has to work to prove that he should be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I mean, he's only got like a 51-14 record or something as a starter. I don't know. I could be overblowing that, but he's got a great record as a starter. He's led a team to the Super Bowl a couple times. I mean, what more does this guy have to do to be a starting quarterback in the NFL? And somebody was talking, and forgive me, I can't remember who it was, but there was some big football analyst basically said that Trey Lance is not a quarterback, is not that great. And I don't know if that's true or not, but
Well, he isn't the rest of this year. I can tell you that.
well, yeah. So to not, I'm not going to turn this into a rant. I'm going with San Francisco over Denver on this one. I'm going to say Garoppolo comes marching back and proves once again why he should be the quarterback of that franchise right now, and they win 27-17. And as far as Russell Wilson is concerned, he had a great career in Seattle, but it's obvious to me that his skills are diminished and that he's not the quarterback he once was. And I don't, I just lost you guys. Sorry.
No, we can hear you. Just keep going.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see him coming back and playing with the skills that he had before. So
you think he's just on a downward spiral?
Yes, I do. There we go. Sorry about that, guys.
So you got San Francisco.
So I got San Francisco. What did I say? 27-17?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So I really like Denver, but I agree with Mark. I think their head coach for Denver looks a bit overwhelmed. He looks like he could manage the hell out of a 10th grade math class, but I think he's struggling.
Isn't that Miami's coach?
Yeah, they look very much the same. They're both
Mark
young
said he's
guys.
A fourth grade teacher.
Yeah. Maybe 6th grade for that guy, but he's off to a much better start. Anyway, I just can't take Denver. I just don't think they got it all together yet, and that San Francisco team will be really well coached for this game. I think you're right. That team's better with Garoppolo. I don't know what they were thinking with Trey Lance, other than they drafted him in the first round. Look. Fast forward, by the way, to later this year or early next year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We could be looking at the same damn problem. Only we're not going to have a Jimmy Garoppolo behind Kenny Pickett. So I'm going to go with San Francisco, even though I want to try and make up games on you guys, because let's go to the year standings. Actually, let's go to last week. Chris, how did you do last week? How did you do last week?
I think I was 3-0 last week.
I think you were 3-0 last week.
There we go, baby.
Mark was a steady 2-1, and I had the first losing picks of the season. I was 1-2. So for the season, that puts us down below. Chris at 5-1, Mark at 4-2, and me at 3-3 for the season. So I guess
kind of interesting. It's like in reverse order of knowledge of football.
Exactly. That's right. From the guy who played through the guys who never played.
Hey, you don't have to play to be able to pick games. That's for damn sure.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
All right, boys, we done with the NFL for tonight?
Sure.
If you say so, boss.
I believe we are. I think it's time to talk about what we are watching, my friends.
Let's do it.
I'm curious. Let's see. I think I want to start with Mark tonight because I'm really interested in what Mark has to say about what he is watching. Let me pull it up. And
Huh.
Mark, this is what Mark is watching.
House of Gucci.
House of Gucci. What exactly is a House of Gucci, Mark?
Well, do you know what Gucci is, Steve?
Gucci is like high fashion, I believe.
Yes, yes, they're really well
Okay,
known for
good. I got it. Yes.
their Gucci bags and their shoes and their fashion shows and all that kind of stuff. And the crazy thing is if you would have told me, if you would have asked me, before I watched this movie, tell me about Gucci, I would have told you, yeah, it's a really wealthy old Italian fashion family. You know what I mean? And really, what this movie is it's a story, kind of about all the ups and downs of Gucci, and about how family infighted, and one part stole from the other, and then the other stole from the other, and then by going public, it got stolen from them, and there's murder involved, and
Whoa.
it's like a crazy story, and it's all true. Like, it's the fun kind where they tell you at the end, like, this is what happened to so and so, this is what happened to so and so. So it's really like a documentary. It's just with actors.
Well,
And
Mark, in order for you to like it, there had to have been drugs involved
So do they
somehow.
tally up how much do they? Yeah, were there drugs involved, Schwaber?
I'm sure there were drugs at some point in the movie. Yeah. Um,
Okay.
but
Did
yeah,
they give a running tally of
and
how many
obviously,
Gucci bags
really,
Lauren Klein has purchased?
there was there were really good actors in it.
Nice.
Adam Driver in all the Star Wars. He's in
Mhm.
it. Lady Gaga is like the lead in it. She's the one who like marries into the Gucci family and starts meddling with them. And then you've got like all these guys in it who I didn't even realize till after after I watched it, I went online and was like, who are those actors? And one was like Jared Leto, and the other one
Yeah.
was Jeremy Irons. Like, so it's
Huh.
really it's an excellent cast, and it's good.
It's
Very,
long though, right? It's pretty long.
yeah, it's long. It's like 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a long time for me to watch a movie about fashion. But I get it.
Well, it's
But I
really,
bet you could
it's
watch it
about
with
murder.
Lauren
It's
and
about
everything would
murder.
be fine.
It's
Yeah,
really
probably.
about murder and business.
That's better.
Yeah,
Murder in business. Yeah, that sounds better. That sounds much better. So Mark has been watching House of Gucci. Where can you watch that, Mark?
I
Netflix?
I think we rented it off of. I think it was on.
Blockbuster?
Blockbuster. The last Blockbuster.
What was the other one called?
West Coast
um,
Video.
West Coast
Preview or
Video.
something like that.
I think we rented it from Prime. I think it was on Amazon Prime.
Prime,
There you go.
Amazon Prime. Okay, so get it from Amazon Prime if you have that. All right, House of Gucci. So up for Chris. Chris, he went in a little bit different direction.
Yeah.
He stayed more along in the lines of, I guess this is considered sports, but
That's funny. Yes. Bonds on the
the
E60.
E60 bonds.
Yeah, I actually, it was a couple nights before we left on vacation. I couldn't fall asleep, and I just clicked over to ESPN, and it was just starting. And I thought, this is interesting. So obviously, it's the Barry Bonds story, and it's really more of the story about his career. It doesn't really address, like, it's not like a documentary on here. He was born, his godfather was Willie Mays and all that. It was more like he was a rookie with the Pirates and the evolution of all that, and the Balco story, and then the story of McGuire and Sosa, and then Bonds taking over the ultimate home run record. And what's really interesting is there are a couple players, probably more than a couple, in the Hall of Fame that had either tested positive or admitted to using steroids. Jeff Bagwell is one of them. David Ortiz is going into the Hall of Fame, and he tested positive.
Mhm.
And even though we all know that Barry Bonds was using those drugs, he never tested positive.
Not one.
And you know, if I was a Hall of Fame voter, he'd be in there, no doubt. No doubt. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. His biggest crime, when you watch this, it comes across that his biggest crime was that he wasn't really very personable. But they do go into some things, some details about what he went through while he was chasing that record. And if you've watched anything about Hank Aaron and what he went through from a racial perspective when he was chasing the record, Barry Bonds went through the same thing. And it paints a little bit of a different picture. And it doesn't really take a side. And it's really, if you have any interest in it at all, or even if you don't, it's a great 60-minute documentary to watch, Bonds. And it's ESPN. And I'm sure, I don't know if it's on Netflix or whatever, but I'm sure you can get it on demand. But I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it's usually on their ESPN Plus. If you have that, it's definitely on there. But they'll throw it on the regular ESPN for those three of us that still have cable coming into their house. It'll be on ESPN too. Yeah, I definitely am interested in that. I can tell that our viewers aren't, because nobody is commenting on Bonds. Normally he's a controversial guy, so I thought maybe we get some snide comments. But hey, let's face it, we don't really like baseball around here anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Not right now anyway.
All right, so I'm the last one up here. The thing that I've been watching, this is not a new show, it's just the latest episodes of it. Cobra Kai.
Oh, I can't.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you gotta watch. So I'm only like 3 episodes in. Like I'm starting.
2. I watched 2.
So we're on the same wavelength. I'm not going to give anything away because people probably haven't watched the whole thing yet. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. Here's the thing about season 5. They just keep going deeper, right? They pull out the most obscure things from Karate Kid Part 3, and they're like saying, oh yeah, remember this dojo guy that got mentioned one time in Mr. Miyagi's garden the one time? That's like the main character now. And you're like,
yeah, but you gotta admit, he's awesome.
He is. He's pretty incredible. Well, he was in the guy they feature has actually been in. He was in season 4 also.
Oh, I think. Okay.
Yeah, he was. He was in season 4 also. So he's not a new character, but the twist they bring to it to get him against the guy with the ponytail, is like it's a new war that's being about to happen. So yeah, I like it, but I have to admit I think it's starting to jump the shark a little bit. They're going a little bit too deep into things, but I mean it is campy. They're not trying to make it like this high level drama, like great action film. Even in some of the films where they're driving, like you can tell, like they're using the dumbest film footage for the side and the back in the car. Like sometimes they make it look like it looks real. They're not even trying. I mean, this is low budget Cobra Kai. This is as low budget as it gets, and I'm okay with that because if you think about it, Karate Kid wasn't like a high budget movie when it came out. So yeah.
Bottom line is it's just fun. It's just fun.
I'd rather watch the life story of David Cassidy and the Partridge Family than that. That
sounds like you.
Well, we can't end the show on that note. We can't end the show on David Cassidy.
Of course not. I had to pause though for the Schwaber insult. You always have to pause for that.
Did you really watch the Partridge Family? I have to know now.
No, I didn't, but I did while we were up in the hotel room and my wife was taking a nap. I did watch How It Really Happened, the David Cassidy story. That's why it was right there.
Wow. You really are on vacation, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When you're watching headline news at 4 p.m. and it's Hill Harper and How It Really Happened, you're on vacation.
Yeah,
or you're
I would say
prison.
So. Well, the question is will you be back for next week's Live on the Porch?
I will be back for next week's Live on the Porch, God willing, unless my wife buys a house down here, which is always a possibility.
Well, then it'll be a different porch, but you'll still have a porch.
Just kidding.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Mark, you have any parting thoughts as we go in the week 3 of the NFL? Oh, wait, your team's playing tonight. How do you feel about tonight? Eagles, Vikings.
I don't know. I mean, the Eagles beat the Lions in week 1, but as Chris can attest to, Lions are actually pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like how you slid that in there, Schwaber.
I don't know. I think it's just a little too early to tell. I mean, some people are kind of really thinking that Minnesota can do some damage this year. At the same time, my question on that one is why? Just because Mike Zimmer's not the coach anymore? I mean, it's all the same players basically.
It is all the same players, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like Kirk Cousins is just like, what I was actually thinking, Klein, this weekend? You know who's the new Kirk Cousins? Carson Wentz. Team's always behind, ends up throwing for 300 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns, but the team sucks.
I can't disagree 100%. The only difference that I can give you, and you'll appreciate it, is that I think Kirk Cousins is actually a nicer guy.
And I think he's better actually too.
And he might be he's had at least a little bit longer track record, but let's put it this way. I feel bad for Kirk Cousins. I think he deserves to have like a playoff run. Even as a former Redskins fan, because I just can't, I will not call them that other name.
We know.
I can still tell you that I can't root for Carson Wentz. I hope they win, for my dad up in heaven, hail to the Redskins. But yeah, I think you're right, Schwaber.
You know what Carson Wentz kind of is? And this is something that I introduced you guys to last week. He's a hate the face.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You just see that face, you're just like,
yeah,
can't do it.
You can't root for him. Yeah.
Now, if somehow, by some miracle, and believe me, I would be the first to admit it would be a ridiculous miracle if they won the Super Bowl with Carson Wentz. I would be happy, but I would still hate the face.
There you go. I think you're right.
How's that for an ending there?
It would definitely diminish your ability to enjoy the Super Bowl win. But, hey, we enjoy all Super Bowl wins. And in Pittsburgh, we have 6 of them. So, hail to the Steelers.
Got to get that one in, of course.
That's right.
You, Homer.
All right, well, let's hope for a Steelers victory, and we have more exciting, happy things to talk about next week. That's
right.
I agree. And with that, I guess we are out. Thanks all for being here tonight.
I want to thank some people here. I want to thank anybody who's listening on American Busker, iHeartRadio, 150 million registered users, 2,000 devices, 250 platforms. Thank you, Nancy Hahn. I said that because I know Steve doesn't have it memorized.
I don't have it memorized yet. That was not in my contract.
That's right.
Isn't it more than 2,000 devices? Isn't it like 200,000 devices or something?
I think it's 1 billion devices because iHeartRadio is everywhere. I mean, right. Chris is walking on the complex there. He could listen to iHeartRadio if he wanted. You're walking down the street, it's in your ears. It's everywhere. I'm going with 1 billion.
Okay, we'll change it to 1 billion. I'm sure they're not going to be upset with that.
2 billion.
It's got to be. All right, boys. Until we see each other again next week. Peace out, everyone.
Peace.
Go Steelers.
Bang.
Here we go.